Welcome back to the Origin of Words. Today, we have an interesting etymological journey for aviation and history enthusiasts alike. Long before the first powered flight by the Wright Brothers in 1903, inventors have been developing new devices for safely controlling airplanes in flight. In this episode, we're going to explore the etymological and historical origins of one such device, the aileron. Let's spend a couple of minutes understanding what an aileron is and where it is situated on an aircraft wing relative to the winglet, spoilers, and flaps. An aileron is a control surface on the rear or trailing edge of a wing that can be manipulated by a pilot to roll or bank an aircraft about its longitudinal axis. An aircraft will typically have two ailerons, each one positioned towards the distal end of each wing. These two ailerons operate in opposition to one another. When the aileron on the right wing is deflected in an upward orientation, the opposing aileron on the left wing will be deflected downward. Based on the research of Daniel Bernoulli in 1738, the act of raising or lowering an aileron changes the shape of the wing, thereby reducing the lift or the propensity for the wing to rise. Changing the shape of a wing using the ailerons, flaps, or spoilers influences the speed of the air flowing over the top surface of the wing relative to the air flowing under the wing. This results in a pressure differential between the upper and lower surfaces of the wing and enables a pilot to maneuver the plane. The term aileron is derived from the French language and the roots aile, which means wing or fin, and ron, which serves as a diminutive suffix. Together, these French root words translate to little wing or small wing. The roots of the Old French word aileron are derived from the Latin word aila, which also means wing or fin. The term hilarious, which includes the root aila, was used in Latin to refer to objects that were winged or equipped with wings. The word ala was also used to describe military formations in the Roman Republic. Roman armies were often composed of one legend or group of Roman conscripts and two groups of conscripts formed from allies of the Roman Republic. Each group of soldiers was referred to generally as an ala. The group of soldiers from the Roman Republic were more specifically referred to as either the ala sinistra, meaning the left wing, or the ala dextra, meaning the right wing. The history of aviation is often believed to have begun with the Wright Brothers and their powered flight in 1903. In fact, the origins of aviation, a term derived from the Latin word for bird, started many centuries before the Wright brothers' first flight in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Ancient thinkers pondered the possibility of flight and made unsuccessful attempts to mimic the flight of birds. The Andalusian scientist Abbas ibn Firnas once covered his body in vulture feathers and attached wings to his arms before jumping from a tower. Leonardo da Vinci was the first to construct a rational aircraft design. In 1505, he wrote a codex entitled The Flight of Birds, in which he designed a flying machine called the ornithopter. The ornithopter consisted of wings that could be moved by a pilot in a manner that mimicked the flapping of bird wings. Many of da Vinci's early designs went undiscovered for years and therefore had little influence on future attempts at powered flight. The first design for an aileron was described by Matthew Piers Watt Boulton in his 1886 British patent entitled Aerial Locomotion. Boulton claimed the use of vanes or movable surfaces on the wings of an aircraft-like mechanism would result in increased stability. He recognized that the movement of the vanes would influence the pressure flowing over the wing and thereby contribute to the rotation of the aircraft about its longitudinal axis. Boulton also contemplated that such vanes could be moved by hand or by self-acting mechanisms. Such features would not appear on airplanes until several decades later. By the end of 1903, the Wright brothers had completed their first controlled, engine-powered aircraft flight in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Unaware of Boulton's aileron design, the Wright brothers adopted a wing-warping design that a pilot could engage from the cockpit. Using a series of pulleys, the pilot could twist the trailing edges of the wings in opposite directions to cause the airplane to roll to the left or right. It is believed that Boulton's aileron design was first used on a glider built by Robert Enoch Peltry in 1904. Enoch Peltry, an inventor and aviation pioneer, described the use of fixed ailerons on each wing to control the flow of air over the wing and thereby enable the aircraft to roll about the longitudinal axis. His novel aileron design was first used on an Aerial Experiment Association aircraft built in 1908. Co-founded by Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, Aerial Experiment Association contributed to the advancement of aircraft design in the early days of aviation. Their aircraft, the White Wing, included an aileron on each wing that was controlled via a harness worn by the pilot. By leaning in various directions, the pilot could enable the ailerons and cause the aircraft to bank or roll. The growing use of competing aileron designs led the Wright brothers to commence a series of patent infringement lawsuits against their competitors in the early 1900s. While the Wright brothers eventually won the lawsuits, it was subsequently learned that the Patent Office and courts were unaware of Boulton's aileron invention from 1886. In hindsight, aviation historians now believe that the Wright brothers should not have been successful in their patent infringement actions given the prior art, including Boulton's patent. Such an outcome would have limited the Wright brothers' ability to secure their monopoly in the early days of powered flight and would have changed the course of aviation history. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Origin of Words. Please be sure to like and subscribe to support our channel. Until next time, stay curious.